Hello and welcome to WNAVA. We need the village again. We are better together. And this is the Imago Day Black History Program. If you were online with us just a moment ago, you've probably enjoyed the interview that I had the opportunity to do with the former Capitol Hill police officer, Mr. Harry Dunn, who was also one of those great warriors to fight for our seat of democracy on January 6th. He's now gone on to launch his campaign and plans to run for the Maryland Congressional Office or Office of Congress in Maryland. And he just won just a few days ago. His name is on the ballot, so he's now won his space to run legitimately, and he's on the ballot in Maryland. If you'd like to encourage and support Harry Dunn, go to harrydunnforcongress.com. I want to take another moment. As you can see, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither," listen to this, "that is neither safe, listen, not nor political, nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tell him it is right." I believe that time is now. And in the words of Mr. Dunn, he decided not to get bitter, but to get better and to get engaged and become solution oriented. I'm calling you to action. I'm asking you to join us in this fight for our democracy. So you may say, well, what can I do in my small space? Do you know that 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, if we keep adding collectively, we can be a people powered force in the United States of America. The things that are happening in our nation are both spiritual wickedness in high places. So we have spiritual atmospheres and we have people operating under ungodly spirits that want to influence this nation for a select few of people rather than all American citizens. So what you can do is find ways to get engaged in your state, your city, your community, in your neighborhood, on your block, wherever you're at, just by being engaged in activism, becoming educated, becoming properly, correctly informed, not informed on YouTube and internet and social media platforms because you don't know the source. And some of the sources behind the information that is propagated or with intention to misinform and disinform you. But you can get engaged in your community. You can also prepare yourself to vote. You have not only the right, but the responsibility to exercise your voice for what type of representation you want for you and your children and your children's children. So don't sit back and wait for a rescuer. There is none coming. Don't wait for people to tell you what to do. Go and discover the truth. There are resources that we're going to be posting online. I want to just have you take a moment and think and reflect on this. If you're following us in our Black History program, you're probably seeing some of the rich content that we're populating on our platforms. And a shout out to Miss Sharia Atkins for just assembling and putting together those posts. Beautiful information, great insight, necessary hidden gems. There's information about people like Fannie Lou Hamer and even Medgar Evers and others, civil rights activists and other inventors and great, brilliant Black people that have been hidden because whoever gets to write the history can tell it in their version. But we want to encourage all people that African Americans are indeed the Imago Dei. We are created in the image and likeness of God as any people group in the earth. We have a place of prominence and significance because we're brilliant, we're resilient, and we're courageous. And we don't want to allow the sweat, the tears, and the death of our ancestors to go in vain, to be in vain, and to go unnoticed. But we want to build upon their shoulders. We want to build upon the work that has been begun and the fight that is yet before us. See, in my estimate, quitting is not an option. We may not be able to win every battle, but we ought to keep fighting until what has been dreamed by our forefathers, what has been fought for, and what has been stood for is reality in our lives as much as we can. Now, I remember hearing Mr. Dunn say that we came into this country Africans. Now we're African Americans for those of us that are African Americans or Black people. And we've lived 400 plus years of oppression. But we don't have to stay oppressed, and we don't have to allow those systems that are designed to keep us disenfranchised to operate successfully. We can really disrupt those inequitable systems that are designed to keep you, your children, and your children's children from ever experiencing the life that God intended. See, domination is never right. It is never right because it is not the spirit of God. Dominion. And when we were commanded in Genesis 1:26 to have dominion, dominion was over everything God created, but not over other people. We have now a political party that wants to rule over the lives of other people. It's the spirit of religion. It's a religious zealot. And so I'm very stirred just by what the Lord has called me into. And I'm stirred by people like Mr. Harry Dunn, who decided not to acquiesce and resign to his own personal bitterness or distress, but instead he's now resigned from being a Capitol Police officer, and he's now running, as I said, for a Maryland congressional seat. And so as a result of that, he sees himself as a difference maker. We see him as an emerging history maker, along with so many other bright talents that's in the earth. Do you want to be on the right side of history or the right side of eternity? I want to be on the right side of eternity, and that requires a fight for justice for all people. So, in the words of the late Dr. Martin Luther King, I want to leave you with this. There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor political nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tell him it is right. Do you hear the clarion call? Do you hear the clarion call in your heart and mind that you must get up and do something? And let me say this, don't allow celebrities to give you their truth or their perspective because their dollars insulate them from some of the things that wealthy people won't have at their disposal. So hear what they have to say, but listen to those who are in the fight, who know the fight, who've been in the fight, and who's pressing forward of all humanity. See, we don't just want Black people to not be disenfranchised. We don't want any people to be marginalized or disenfranchised. But we sure don't want people like us who have, for all of the history of this nation, been disenfranchised, underserved, overlooked, taken advantage of. We are the people that can do it to rise up. So join me in this movement, not just for Black history, but for the lives of Black people, but for the community at large that you live in. You may be the Moses, the Joshua, the David that God is calling. You may be the Ruth, the Esther, or the Deborah that God is calling forth. See, that's just a political matter. It's a spiritual matter. And who better can answer the call than those that are full of the Spirit of God? Well, thank you for joining us. I want to close with this very special announcement. And one of the ways that we're paying forward is that WNAVA, We Need a Village Again, We Are Better Together, aka WNAVA, is a Christian social justice ministry. And one of the ways we're paying forward is that we have launched, we're in the process, we will launch it on March the 2nd, next month, our reading enrichment literacy program for the K-12 grade level. We want to be able to help all of our children begin to read proficiently, read effectively, be able to understand and comprehend the world around them because they're confident within themselves and they're confident within their skill sets to engage in society intelligently. And so we have Miss Griffin, who's our lead teacher. This is what she does as a profession. She has a wealth of knowledge and skill and patience and passion. She's going to lead off in a 6-week reading literacy enrichment program. It's going to be virtual, which means that our children will sign in on Saturday mornings. If you're interested, we have just a few slots that are available. It's complimentary, which means that you don't have to pay for this cycle for your child's tutorial services. It will begin on March the 2nd through April the 6th for 6 weeks every Saturday morning virtually. And what's more importantly, if you're interested, visit WNAVA.com, contact us, and then in the drop down, you will see the Reading Literacy Interest Form. Complete that. You don't have many we don't have many slots available. You don't have much time because we will be conducting on this Saturday, the 17th. So if your child is in need of reading proficiency help, we're here to help you. We're paying it forward. We're breaking cycles of ignorance. We're lifting our children up so that they can be leaders. Readers are leaders and learners are earners. Thanks so much for your time. I hope you were edified by Mr. Harry Dunn's interview. And go back to our platform, WNAVA.com or Trumpet of God Ministries, Voice of Distinction, and take a look at the rich content that we're publishing weekly so that you can be properly educated and we hope tremendously inspired. God bless you. Until next time. Thank you.